Hello adventurers and welcome back to my channel. I've been at base camp working on a few projects and I told you guys that I was going to follow up on one of those, and today is the day. But before we do this, I need to go and get something out of my dad's van. Come on, let's go. Well, since the last time that I checked with you guys here on the channel and showed you guys this, Dad has been busy. He has been so busy, but we need to get our little thermometer that's over here, and well, I'll let him touch on a few of these things in an upcoming upload, or I'll touch on them a little bit later, but let's get that. Okay, we went there to get this. It is 84 degrees outside right now, which is not as hot as it has been as I've been working here at base camp. So this is a perfect day to be outside talking about this next thing. Now the van right now is going through some growing pains because I'm trying to figure out a few things when it comes to placing some items. So that's why it looks like this, but today, this cord right here, this is what it's all about. Well, rather, what goes on this cord. Now, for those of you who are new, my name is Bunny, and this is my 2020 NV200 that I have been traveling across the country in for about 2 years. And in that 2 years, I have been purposefully traveling with the weather just to keep cool. However, in the coming months, I'm not going to be able to do that quite as much, and I'm going to end up in some pretty warm spaces. So I decided I was going to do something a little bit different this year. Now, for those of you who are not familiar, Dimples here has absolutely zero insulation inside to keep it regulated on temperature. So I have been using a series of fans and cooling blankets to stay cool until this year, where I determined it was way too hot. And that is when I looked to the device that plugs into this right here. This is actually the connector and charger for the Zero Breeze Mark II. Now right here you will see the Mark II's main components. You have the Zero Breeze Mark II body, and then also the battery that comes along with it. But also you have this main cord. Now you can run this item, believe it or not, just using this cord. But you can also use this cord to charge the battery. Now, this is the thing. Now, if you are picking your own adventure here, you can use this in a home or a vehicle, either one, and it's going to produce a lot of impact. Not to mention, you can actually have this bad boy out right here, pumping out air, no problem. But the way that this works is very simple. You have this main component right here, and it can plug directly into the gray cord. Now, when you do that, what it does is it will run off of a standard wall plug. So you have to have some kind of 24-volt plug that you can work with. No big deal, right? Well, if you don't have that available, they have the battery pack. The battery pack can be plugged into a 24-volt plug wherever you are, and it can charge up. And as it charges up, then you can use this for several hours of use, which is super, super cool. So those are the basics of these three items right here. These are the most important three items that they have because they have the most function for using it independently. But if you are wanting to use the battery pack, there's actually another cord that I'm going to show you in just a minute. If you watch my unboxing, you know there were a whole bunch of goodies to go with this. So now it's time for us to get a few of them out and try them out. Now, you can probably tell that is a slightly larger item. So I'm going to have to find a really good place here in the van for it because I leave out in just a couple days. So that's kind of what we're going to be looking at tonight as to where I might put it. And I have a good idea. In fact, I believe that if we come all the way over to the passenger side right here, then I have currently this seat. Now, this seat may or may not be staying here, but for the time being, I think this is a great place for this to sit. So let's bring it over. Now, I'm sure you can see really quickly that this is a larger item based on the size of the space that it takes up. However, it does in fact fit flat and doesn't rock, even with some additional movement. So this is a good place. Okay guys, let's go and pick up some of the other components. I have them inside base camp so I could kind of spread out. And I also did a few tests while I was inside base camp last night, just to kind of see how this is going to work out and if it logically makes sense to put it in my van. I'm just going to tell you now, it was definitely worth it. And I'll show you some of those tests in just a few minutes so you can kind of see how it did with a power station. So today we're going to be showing you what it's like with the battery itself after it's been fully charged. But you can run this off a power station, and I'll show you that in a minute. Okay guys, I went ahead and brought everything out. So we have a box in the front seat on the opposite side, and then we have a small box in the back. So we're going to be referencing both of those because they both have some quality items inside. However, the first thing that we need to do is, because we're going to be using the Zero Breeze with the battery today, I think that we need to go ahead and attach them first. This is pretty easy, and all you have to do is take this 12-pound battery right here, and it has these little locking channels on it. You'll notice that the locking channels fit the channels that are actually on the Mark II. So we're going to line those up really quickly, and that's where we will begin this process. Okay, now this is really simple. There are some outlets here on the end, and so this needs to be on the same end as the fan itself. So that's an easy way to know which way it goes. We're going to set it in, and then we will squish it back, and it locks into place and makes that clicking noise, which means if we pick it up, now it is one solid unit. Now, a lot of you will probably ask me, how heavy is this? If you watched my unboxing video, you know that this part right here was no big deal, and this one was 12 pounds. I would say that this is still pretty manageable overall. It is a bit heavy, but it's not too heavy. So I can easily pick it up and maneuver it still pretty well. So that's good for portability. But now we need to connect it so that the battery can actually make the fan work. It doesn't do us any good just to put them on top of one another unless we also use the connecting cord. Now the connecting cord came in this tiny little bag right here, and we're gonna open it up for the first time. Let's see how long it is. Okay, not too long. It's about 1 foot long. So that's not too much cord to keep up with. But at the same time, that's not too much cord to keep up with. Sorry about the traffic, guys. Van life, you know, it's just how it happens. So you are looking at the cord itself right now, and you can see on the end here, it has 4 little areas that prongs will go into. In addition, it has this little tightener connector, and it has the cord itself, and then on the other end, the same thing. So this is going to be a plug and play. All we have to do is plug one side into the Mark II and one side into the battery. To do that, we need only to take this out, turn it around, and make sure it is sitting nice and flat. And then you'll notice that there is where one of them go, and the other one is tucked into this little hiding space, which would be way easier to get into if I had nails. There we go. So that's all the distance that we have to go, guys. It's not that far. Okay, now with these, they are going to fit in only one specific way. So the best way that I can explain this is just kind of gently place it on there and turn it very carefully. Now, after it goes in, it clearly fits very well. Okay, after we have gotten both of them in, we're going to gently tighten these. It's a righty-tighty, lefty-loosey situation on these, and you don't want to tighten these down too tight, because what happens is this is a very small space to maneuver your fingers, and so it gets too tight too quickly, then it's going to be hard for the cord to come off later if you're wanting to charge the battery using the bigger cord, which you have to do to get the battery recharged. Notice anything? It is now lit up red. That means that the battery down here is connecting to the Mark II right here, and it is in fact connected. So what's next? Well, now we're going to turn it back around so we can see the controls. Okay, again, we're just going to brace the bottom so that we can secure it, but then we're going to turn it around just like this. And right here on the top, you'll see that there are a lot of different controls. In fact, I went through the book and kind of figured out what each one of them was last night, which is why I wanted to do the little test beforehand. And I found out some interesting things. For example, we can turn it on right now, and instantaneously we start blowing a little cold air just because we plugged it directly into the battery. But also there's a few different things that you'll want to look at whenever you first plug it in for the first time. For example, down on the bottom right here of the battery, you'll see some lights. I'll show you those a little bit closer in just a second. Also, you have your thermostat right here, and look at this, guys. There's a light. I love when they put lights on things because you never know when you're going to need it until you just actually need it. But before we go into a bit more detail about each one of those buttons, we are going to do a test. In fact, this guy right here, this will tell us how much cool air and what the temperature of it is as it comes out. So let's just do a baseline right now, okay guys? Let's do a baseline of what it is right now when on this van. Okay, clearly you see the van. Let's do this. Bring it in. It's showing 84 degrees. So it's 84 degrees right now. Now, having this little guy right here is super handy because not only can we physically test how much air it is pushing, but we can see how cold it really is in comparison to what the thermostat says. So we are going to be using this guy right here and doing just a couple of tests. Okay, so let's check it. We're pointing directly into the cannon of cold. And it says right now the cannon of cold is registering to be 79 degrees. When we pull it up toward the ceiling, it's like 85, but the cannon of cold itself is 79. Now, a few things to note. Heat rises. So as this pushes out air, it is going to have all of the heat in the vehicle raised to the top. The ceiling will always be warmer than the floor. We all know this. This is how it works. Just, oh, this feels good, guys. This feels really good. And we haven't even gotten this where it's actually vented yet. We still have to do that so you guys can see how it works. But as of right now, if I was just standing next to this, this is comfortable. And it's not even at its highest setting yet. Okay, before we start talking about all the individual functions a little bit more, I wanted to draw your attention toward this book because this book literally made everything so easy. The user's guide that they have provided not only has text pages like these, but also visuals, and each visual is clearly marked. In fact, that's how I was able to determine what each of the buttons were so quickly. This is the strong mode with the little rocket, the sleep mode. See, it just tells you exactly what mode it is, but also all of the functions of that mode. It also tells you that the remote that is also included has the same symbols, so there's no guesswork when it comes to setting up your Mark II. But this was one of the more interesting pages right here, the multifunction button control. It has a car mode, and it says in default mode, when the power supply voltage is lower than 18.6 volts, the air conditioner will actually stop working. Whenever you have this happen, you can press both the plus and the minus for 2 seconds, and it will enter what is called car mode. What that does is it actually enables it to run still and prevent it from running out your car battery completely if you do have it plugged into your car. So again, pretty cool. It's very smart. You can use it with its individual battery, your individual vehicle's battery, or a power station. And I think that that is absolutely phenomenal. And again, here's a little bit of a closer look at all of those different buttons and modes right there. And then something else that I just learned as I was showing you guys this video is if we turn the power on, I currently have shifted it over to Celsius. That's right, this will actually read in Fahrenheit or Celsius. So you might be asking, well, how do I switch between the two? And do I want to switch between the two? And if I switch it by accident, how do I fix it? Well, all you have to do is hold the light button here for 2 seconds. And there you go, you're back to Fahrenheit. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about this faster, high-speed rocket mode right here. In fact, if you turn this on, you can adjust it up and down as much as you would like, and each adjustment triggers these lights to go up higher. So the higher that you get, the more air that you are pushing out. If you only have like one light, it's going to be the lowest setting. So you want it to push as much as you can to get it cooler faster. Okay, so now we've unboxed it. We've kind of played with it a little bit, but how does it work beyond that? And how does it work within a vehicle? Well, that's what we're about to explore a bit more of. I'd like to first start out though by saying that I know for a fact that this works extremely well. If you have been following my channel for a while, you might remember a guy named Jake's van, who we met at Gutted. Well, he has been using a Zero Breeze for quite some time, and I've been following his journey along with it, and he has had phenomenal success. So one of the things that he said was that he really enjoyed it because he only has to run it for a few minutes at a time in his small van. And so I knew this would be a great option for me, and the battery would have a lot of durability as a result. Now, I, again, did a few tests last night, so I want you guys to see what kind of I discovered in those. Now, these tests are going to show you how many watts that it pulls off of a power station as opposed to the battery. It's also going to show you a little bit more of the testing that we just did in a more controlled environment where I already had it going. And then whenever you come back from seeing all that, we'll talk about hooking up the exhaust. Okay guys, everything we need for the exhaust is in this foam right here, and it's super well packaged, so it was definitely taken care of in the shipping process. Now, the thing that we're most interested in using today is going to be this and these, and then there is a drain hose which you see popping out the bottom. You can also vent the front so you can directionalize the air, but in a small space I'm not going to really need that very much, so I may or may not use this frequently, but this part we have to use. Although I will say I really like that they have that front attachment piece, because you can literally pull the hose around and blow it in whatever direction that you choose, which would be super awesome if my van were a bit bigger, because I could pipe air from the back to the front or from the front to the back, and that would be really nice. Okay, I went ahead and turned the air unit backwards again. So this is the back vent, and again where the cord attaches is right here. So now we're going to take out this piece right here, and as you can see, this piece is very interesting. In fact, let's look at it a bit closer. You can see it a bit better here with the white background. This has two holes for which the air can pass through. In addition, it has clips right here, as you can see, kind of raised a bit, and then they also have clips on this part as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to clip this in to the unit, and then through these holes we'll put our ventilation, and this is going to be a super easy install. Now there is a button on the top, so that is the top portion, and all we're going to do is just lean this into the bottom clips that are aligning, and then lean them into the top, push the button, and that's it right there. That was installed so quickly. Okay, here comes the fun. It's time to use these. Now, these are going to twist into the actual holes that are in the back of that unit. As you can see, this isn't even fully extended and it's pretty long. So if you needed to put this unit in the back of your vehicle and pipe it out through the front, you totally could, because this is pretty decently sized right here. I could get this about halfway down my van. Now, maybe on some of the longer wheelbase, it might not work out quite as well with that part, but on a shorter van like mine, this will go a long way. Now, while we're at it, let's go ahead and talk about also the air filters. Now, in this back area that we're about to install this piece, there are actually 2 air filters, and then in the front there is another one also. So that's just something else to know, that you can actually change these out and clean it up and make sure that your quality of air that you're pushing through is good. Now, in addition, there are some really good instructions here about how to install these little tubes. And unlike where we've been using the righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, this is actually going to be the opposite. So it's going to be the opposite of what you expect. So don't get discouraged if you're putting it together and you feel as though it's backwards. It's supposed to be that way. Okay, so I pulled out a few inches of this and I'm going to slide it in, and then I'm going to go lefty-loosey, but in fact it is a righty-tighty. And we're just going to keep feeding that in, and that's it. That's it right there. Ooh! Okay, both of them are now in there and they're secured, so I'm just gonna push this so that it's nice and even. Now, last but not least, we need to install the drain hose. The drain hose is going to keep any condensation from accruing inside your vehicle. So this is just another plug and play, easy thing. And there's a few things that you can do with this. You can either run this out through the window, you can run it into a bucket, you can do whatever is convenient to you, or if you want to set this up as like a permanent fixture in your van, you can actually do a little pluggable drain hole that goes out the bottom, because it's just fresh water that accrues from the outside. There is no water in this unit. I repeat, there is no water in this actual cooler. In fact, one of the main reasons that I wanted to explore the Mark II from Zero Breeze is because it is not a swamp cooler. A lot of people have been showing all of these very small, compact things that easily fit into their tiny space. However, most of those require you to either put ice in them so it can circulate the cold off of the ice, or put water in them so it could circulate the water to give you a little bit of moisture in the air. I am just gonna let you guys know that is not my journey. I do not want to be sticky. And what happens whenever you have a swamp cooler is you get sticky. Sure, you're a little bit cooler, but it comes at the price of glistening a bit more than I want to do. So I wanted something that was independent, that could circulate and actually physically cool like a home air conditioning can. And mind you, we do have to vent it and we do have to put a drain plug on it, but at the same time, it is well worth it to not feel moist. Now, as I'm exploring this drain solution a bit more, I was reading right here, again in the book, it's so good guys, it's so user-friendly. And it says here that typically you won't end up with condensation for the first 1 to 2 hours of using the unit. So, with that said, if you're not going to be running it for but a short time, you may not need the drain hose for every single use. However, it's always better safe than sorry. So today we're going to figure out how to hook it up. Now, this is something I did not do in my tests because, well, I was just doing a test. But if I'm going to use it in the van, I'm going to need it because there's going to be days where I just want to sit in the cool air. Okay, you guys are going to have to come down here for this. Do you see where that is? It's just like this tiny little space right here, and it has this plastic end to it that's kind of like a rubberized plastic, and you just kind of push it in and wiggle just a little bit, and that's it. That was super easy. Okay, so here comes the fun part. I went ahead and turned on the van and rolled down the window just a little bit. Now what we're gonna do is just pull these out. I'm just gonna set them outside the window for the time being. We do have an insulator sheet, but I want to take a little bit more time with that so I can cut it to fit the window perfectly. But for the time being, let's just vent it out and then see how much we can drop the temperature in the van. Okay, is it perfect? Absolutely it is not. However, this is the basic concept, and the piece that I have, let me show you. Now this little foam piece right here will actually fit into the window, and we'll be able to pipe these out through this. And I may have to make a few adjustments because with the Nissan, I have a longer window set than a lot of vans do. So I may end up having to do this and then have a little add-on piece also just to close up the window, or I may just end up blocking off a section whenever I do use this. Now, this particular venting system won't be something I probably will leave in overnight because, you know, safety, because it would just be a little foam panel here. But I will be exploring a few other options for being able to safely have a bit more air conditioning at night. What I plan on doing mostly with this AC unit is getting my space to a nice cool temperature at nighttime, because typically I'm okay after I get it cooled off. However, I also want to be able to run my physical air conditioner without having to run my physical van and stressing and taking a toll on the van. So this will come in handy a lot on hot days. Okay, now that we have it vented, let's turn it on. And immediately we are already in rocket mode. We're gonna go all the way up to the highest setting, and we're going to do a little bit of a test. Okay, on this end, I definitely feel the heat coming out of the van, and it is warm, guys. That is super warm. But here, it's really cool. In fact, the temperature has already gone down from like 74 to 69, and it just keeps dropping. Yeah, this is gonna work really well. Now, I will definitely have to seal up that window whenever I am using it during the day, because right now we are losing some of that heat, but that barrier is going to lock in the cold on this side, the hot on that side. So that's gonna be super, super good. And again, I may end up just making a custom piece out of some of that insulation that you get at the store. They do have those big sheets, and I could probably get one and custom cut it to my window. Now, storing that could be interesting. However, I will figure that out, because again, I am willing to make some changes in order to stay cool. Look, we're already down to 66 degrees. Now, I'm just gonna let you guys know that in the physical van itself, I do not have any air conditioning running, and it is very pleasant right now because it is already starting to drop the temperature physically in the entirety of the van. So what I'll probably do while I'm traveling is I'll point this end toward the back, and I'll have it back there so that I can vent it out the side during the day. Now at nighttime, I may play with a few different things. I'm also going to see if this will fit in this area down here just for convenience factor. If not, well, guess what, guys? I'm not committed fully to the seat staying, so it may be going too. I'm loving this. It's like a selfie light, guys. This is so cool. I love this thing, and we're going down to 64 already. So again, this definitely is making its value known quickly. I already feel so much more relief. I'm getting to feel less sticky because the climate is being controlled a bit more. And as you can see, we have some actual physical wind happening here, which is a huge whopping plus in my book. Look at this, guys. Look at this. Right now, the temperature of air that it's pulling out is 90 degrees. So that is 91 degrees. Oh my goodness, so much heat was in the van. Okay, one last test. It's currently 82 degrees in the back of the van, and I have set it up where it is flowing into the back of the van. So let's see if we can drop this temperature a few degrees. Okay, clearly this is just a temporary setup just to kind of test this, but I have it where the fan is coming directly into the front. I also have it venting out into the cab right now with the curtain barrier. This is just my blackout curtain. It's a thicker curtain, but I can physically feel the difference in the back and the front right now. And we started off, and we're starting to now, as you can see, we're starting to drop temperature very slowly. Now this is kind of a crazy view because I don't have my overhead lights on, but I have taken the vent and I can actually directionalize it. And so I have pointed it more toward me and less toward the actual thermometer itself. I want to make sure that I am staying cool in the back, and that's the primary reason to use this. However, it's a bonus when everything else gets to cool off, but I also didn't want it to be negatively impacted by the direct line with the fan. I want to get a true reading as to how cool or how warm it is. So right now we're sitting at 62 degrees that is blowing through the vent, and it feels very nice. Meanwhile, we just dropped another degree in temperature over here. So we are making progress and have already dropped the base temperature of the van a couple of degrees. So what this tells me is that whenever I'm physically not at the van for a few minutes, I could put this on and let it just kind of run through and get some cool temperatures blowing through, and then I could comfortably sneak into the back and go to bed. It would be so nice. And this is working so well despite me not having any insulation and no roof vent. So this is moving the air and reducing the temperature even in this space, even when I do not have the windows cracked even the slightest bit right now. Okay guys, I'm going to leave that cooling off for just a little while longer. It felt fabulous in there. We'd already dropped a couple more degrees, and I'm gonna love this thing. The Mark II by Zero Breeze is fabulous for van life. I can already see this, and I'm super excited that I got to share it with you guys. Now I will be doing a follow-up after I've been traveling with it for a while and after I cut my window solution so I can let you guys know what I'm doing. But oh my goodness guys, I am tired, and I'm going to go into base camp and complete a few more projects because I only have a couple more days before I hit the road. So if you have enjoyed coming along and seeing the Zero Breeze Mark II alongside me through the unboxing and then this video, please leave a like, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys down the road with a follow-up. Whew, it is sweltering out here in comparison, I will say that. Whew. Bye guys!